Hi my sewing lovers, welcome to my channel. My name is Johanna. If this is your first time clicking in, thank you so much. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much. Here we do everything: fashion talks, sewing tutorials. If you're a fashion lover, if you're a sewing lover, here is the right place for you. So today guys, I'll be showing you how to do this beautiful dress. I'll be doing the sewing and the pattern tutorial in this video. If it's something you like to learn, please keep on watching and don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. And also don't forget to follow our Instagram page, Joanne Sews. Thank you. So guys, for this tutorial, I'll be needing my pattern paper. I'll be using 2 meters for this, my tape measure, my calculator, my paper scissors, my marker, my rulers, my straight ruler and my curve ruler, and fabric of course, and also lining. The first thing I did was to draw a perpendicular line, that is my shoulder line and my center front line. Then next I would mark 8.5 inches for my shoulder line, that is going to be my chest line. Then for my shoulder line again, I would mark 10.5 inches, which is going to be my bust point line. Then for my shoulder line again, I would mark 13.5 inches, which is going to be my under bust line. Then for my shoulder again, I would mark 17 inches, which is going to be my front waist. My front waist is different from my back waist. For my back waist, I'll be using 15.5 inches. Please take note. So I have my chest line, my bust point line, my under bust, and my waistline. Next, from my waist, I'll be marking 8.5 inches, which would serve as my hip line. I would mark that as my hip line. 8.5 inches. If you don't know how to take your own measurement, I have a video on my channel on how you can take your body measurement accurately. Please check it out if you don't know how to. Thank you. Next, from my shoulder line, I would mark 39 inches. But if you want to go as the inspiration, you can do 30 to 32. But for this tutorial, I'll be using 39 because that is what I'm comfortable with. So 39 will be my full length. I would connect those dots with a straight ruler. Now let's begin drafting. I would divide my shoulder measurement by 2, which is 14 divided by 2, and I would mark 7 inches on my shoulder line and on my chest line. Then I'll connect that dot with a straight ruler. Next, I would mark my neck width, which is 3.5 inches. Then I'll go to that line I marked earlier and mark 0.75 for my shoulder slope. I want to use 0.75 because I'll be using a shoulder pad for this dress. Then for my neck depth, I'll be using 3.5 inches also. This is going to be a round neckline, but if you want to use any shape, that is up to you. Next, for my shoulder slope to my chest line, I would mark my midpoint. Then from that midpoint, I will go out by 0.5 inches. Then on my chest line, I would mark my bust circumference divided by 4, then connect those dots with a French curve. Next, I will divide my nipple to nipple measurement by 2, which is 8 divided by 2, 4 inches, and place it on my bust on the bust and waistline, and I'll connect those dots with a straight ruler. Then for my chest line, I'll go down by 1 inch, then I'll connect it to that my nipple line. Perfect. Then from the middle of my armhole, I'll connect a line touching that nipple line, but make sure it's not that sharp. Then I'll use my French curve to smoothen that curve, because our bust is not pointy, our bust is curvy, so we don't want any sharp point. Please take note, guys. So for my dart intake, I'll be using 2 inches. If you are a plus size, you can use 2.5. Then I'll connect those dots with a straight ruler. Then from the second line, I'll use my French curve to give it a very nice curve to the first line. Can you see that? Can you see the princess dart bustier coming out? Then from the first armhole line, I'll go down by 1.5 inches. Then I'll connect it to that other line. Then again, I'll smoothen the curve as I go. Whenever you see a sharp point, try to smoothen your curve. Then from the second armhole line, I would extend that line and replace that 1.5 inches, and also replace it to the side seam 1.5 inches and draw a new armhole curve. Perfect. Can you see that bustier coming out? It's nice, so beautiful. Then for my under bust, I'll be using 29 inches divided by 4, which is 7.25. Then I'll add my 2 inches for the dart intake. Please don't forget to replace your dart intake. Then for my waist measurement, I'll be using 28 inches divided by 4, and I'll be adding my 2 inches for the dart intake. And also don't forget to add your seam allowance. For the seam allowance here, I'll be using 2 centimeters. So I'll be adding 2 centimeters on the chest line, on the under bust line, and on the waistline. Then I'll connect those dots with my curve rule. I used a very small seam allowance because my fabric is stretchy. I don't want a lot of seam allowance. But if you are using a non-stretch fabric, please use from 1 inch. Thank you. Then from my hip line, I'll go out by 4 inches, and also my full length, I'll go out by 4 inches, and I would connect those lines with a straight ruler. Then if you look closely on the design, you would see that that black part is not that straight. It comes out a bit. So that is why on my full length, I went out by 2 inches. So it's going to be having like a V shape on the center front. So on my hip measurement, I'll be dividing my hip by 4, which is 10, and I added to my hip because I wanted that fuller hip that the inspiration shows. Yeah, if you look closely on the inspiration, you would see that it has a bit of fuller hip, like excess hip. So that is why I added 2 inches on my hip measurement, and I also added 2 centimeters for my seam allowance. Then for my hem, that's the full length, I used 9.25. So for the hem, please don't make it too pencil or it's not really going to look nice. So if you're using 9 inch for your hip, you can use 8.25 or 8 for your hem. Don't make it that pencil, because it's not a pencil dress, it's just a straight dress. So I'll label my pattern. Next, for my bust line, I went down by 1.5 inches, and that would be my dart intake, my bust dart. So I'll cut the top part, then I would just glue it together with my sellotape, and voila, you're done with your front pattern. Guys, we're done with our front pattern. That is how to cut our bustier. Next, our back pattern. I started with my perpendicular line, and next I drew my shoulder to chest line, then shoulder to bust line. That's the second line I'm marking right now. Then shoulder to waistline, that is 15.5 inches. Don't forget, guys. Then from my waistline, I marked 8.5 inches to get my hip line. Then to get your full length, take your front pattern and measure your hip line, that's from your hip line to your hemline. Then place that measurement on your back pattern. If you use your full length measurement, that is your shoulder to full length, you would not get your pattern right. When you're trying to sew, it's not going to match. I get a lot of comments that, oh Joanna, my pattern is not matching. That is because you are not following this method. You have to follow this method. You have to measure your hip to your length from your front pattern. Please don't forget about that. And for your dart intake, whatever your dart intake is, subtract that from your front length. So whatever your front length is, for example, if your front length is 17 inches and your dart intake is 1.5, your back length is going to be 15.5. That is how you're going to do it. Very simple math. If you have any question, again, I'm in the comment section. For my neck depth, I'll be using 6.5. I wanted to do something, out of the box. I was trying something new. You would see how it comes out at the end of this video. Then I would mark my bust circumference divided by 4. Then for my armhole, I'll go up by 2.5 and I'll go out by 0.75. Then I'll connect that armhole curve. Remember, your back armhole is longer than your front armhole. Then I will label all my lines, my chest line, bust line, waistline, hip line, and full length. Then on my waistline, I would mark my nipple to nipple measurement divided by 2, which is 4, and I will also mark it on my hip line. But on my full length, I will be marking 6 inches to give that V shape for my black part or my center back. So I'll go straight, then I'll go like a V shape. It's a very, very nice design, guys. You need to try this out. I can't wait to see your results. Then for the back pattern, I'll be using the princess seam, just a princess seam dart, nothing complicated. I'm not going to be using any dart intake, nothing. I will just draw out my princess seam, and that's it. Nothing complicated at all. Now I'll be placing my waist measurement divided by 4, which is 7. Then I'll be adding 0.75 for my zip bulge intake. Then I'll be adding 2 centimeters for my seam allowance. Then on my hip line, I will be dividing my hip by 4, which is 10, and I'll be adding my 2 centimeters seam allowance. Then also on the hem, I will be using 9.25, sorry, and I'll also be adding 2 centimeters seam allowance. Then I brought my front pattern to check if everything is right, and as you can see in the video, everything is right. Perfect. Thing I forgot to add was my 2 centimeter seam allowance, and right now I am adding it to my chest line. Please don't forget your seam allowance, they are very important. Second check, can you see guys, everything is fine. Now let's draft our sleeve, and the first thing I did was to draw out our starting line, and next I would mark 3.5 inches. That is going to be our sleeve cap height, and next I would be marking my sleeve length. For the sleeve length, you can use whatever length you want, but it has to be long, about 26 to 28, yeah, or 24, depends on what you want. Yeah, that's just the design of the dress. Then I marked my bicep measurement, then I drew out my sleeve head, and guys, that's simple. Then for the hem, I used 15 inches, then I marked it, then I drew a V line connecting from the bicep line to the hemline. Very easy guys. But if you don't want it to be that full, I think you should use 12 inches for the hemline, or 13. That would be better, because I feel like my own is very full. Yeah, it's very easy guys. Can you see? Then you would draw the front sleeve and the back sleeve. The front sleeve is the one inside and the back sleeve is the one outside. And that is it guys, easy peasy. So guys, we are done with the basic sleeve. Now we're going to manipulate it to the design of this dress. So now I open my sleeve because I drafted it on a fold so that it can be easy for you all to see the real picture of the sleeve. So if you notice that there is some part of the sleeve that is black and some part is white, as the center is black and the 2 sides are white. So now I brought my center back and my center front, and I want to measure the armhole because that is where it's going to be inserted. So you measure the 2 armhole, and you're going to measure it also on the sleeve and mark it, and measure it also on the other side of the sleeve and mark it, so that when you insert it, the black matches where the black is, and the black also matches where the black is on the 2 sides. So guys, that is it. We have the three parts for our sleeve right now: the side, back, the side, front, and the center. So the two sides, you would cut it with white, and the center would be cut with black. So I also made notches so that you could differentiate it. So I cut all my pattern pieces and also add seam allowances, but for the side we already added seam allowances, so you don't need to add seam allowances. And guys, we are ready to sew. First off, I will take my center front and my side front and cut the notches out. That is my bust point and my under bust. Then I will pin it, making sure that my notches match. Then I would sew that area. Then also for my center back and my side back, I would also mark the notches and also pin that curved seam and sew. After done sewing that, we're going to place the front pieces and the back pieces right side facing right side. Then I'll pin the side and the shoulder seams. And you would use whatever seam allowances you added on your pattern. For this, I'll be using 2 inches. And don't forget, whatever you do on your fabric, your main fabric, please do on your lining. Now we are done with the dress, the sides I mean. Next thing I did was to cut a strip of interfacing for the zip so that it doesn't stretch. If you do not cut a strip of interfacing for the zip area, your zip would not come out nice. I use an invisible zip. If you want me to do an invisible zip tutorial on the channel on how to insert an invisible zip, please let me know. Write it on the comment section. I want a tutorial for an invisible zip. Then I would do that. Next, I'll pin the necklines together, right side facing right sides, and take it to the sewing machine and stitch. Can you see how my neck came out? It did not come out really visible, but it's there. Yes. Next, I'll be measuring the hem of this dress so that I could start making that strap. So I'll be using 10 inches for the strap. That's the width. Then for the length, I'll be using the length I measured on my dress. So guys, when doing this circular thing, you can use a bottle or you can use your free hand, as you can see me doing. I use my free hand and it worked so well, but make sure you measure the distance of the circle. I used 3 inches to measure the distance, so yeah, and that worked perfectly. I think this is the part that needs a lot of patience on this dress. All other parts is easier, but this is the part that really needs your patience. And if you get this part done, then you're almost done with this dress, because this part requires a lot of ironing, a lot of cutting. Your cutting has to be like nice and curvy, straight. You see the way I'm cutting it doesn't have to be sharp. So I was done cutting out the shape. Now I'm just gonna sew it. Then when I was done sewing it, I cut notches so that it's easy for me to turn it and stitch it. You cut out small notches. When you have a round seam, it's very important to have notches round the seam so that it's easy for it to come out and look neat, and also to have that round shape. And you can see I already pressed it and it's looking so nice, and I'll insert it to the hem of this dress. So when that is done, you'd see it soon. Then I will take my sleeves and I would join them by the sides, making sure you match the notches together. Remember, the sleeves are not the same. Now our sleeve is being stitched, and also you can now add that strap at the bottom, just the way we did for the dress bottom. Measure it, then add it. Now I'm done with the sleeves. As you can see, it's time to join it. I pressed it very nicely. And guys, if you love this video, if you enjoyed this video, please let me know in the comment section that you love this video. I would be so happy. Thank you guys for watching, and bye from me.